Hey guys, Kim Stallings, Heritage Risk Advisor. So happy to be here with you today. In today's module, we're going to discuss homeowners insurance. Now, I specifically know a whole lot about homeowners insurance in Texas, but it's like this in almost every state of the union. So a lot of this is going to apply for you guys watching nationally. Homeowners insurance is really interesting. Most states are deregulated when it comes to insurance. So what does that mean for you? What that means is that there's a number of different forms that policies are written on. Forms like an HO1, an HO2, an HO3, an HOA, an HOB, a TDP1, a TDP2, a TDP3, and what do all those things mean? It means you got a lot of options, and it mostly means that not all things are created equal. So, how do we figure out which of these forms is better than other forms? There's some tips, there's some tricks. So we have some secrets. When you're dealing with the dwelling policy forms, the DP1 or 2 or 3, we're dealing with DP1, basic perils. None of us want those. DP2, broad perils, and DP3, special perils. We all want special perils. So that's the easy way to figure out at a glance what sort of stuff you need to be looking for, and we'll cover some of those other items in future videos. But in general, remember, basic perils basically cover nothing, and special perils cover everything unless it's specifically excluded. Now, let's talk about the HOA, HOB, HO1, HO2, and HO3 forms, okay? So an HOA is a lesser form than an HOB. The HOB is a better form. B for better. Super easy to remember. They're mostly always going to give you special perils, which we remember are the better perils. HOB, better, special. And the HO3 form, the higher the number, again, just like the dwelling policy forms, the higher the number, the better the perils are. So at a glance, any novice can look at your policy and look for those numbers on your standard form. And that's where we start. The reason there's differentiators in insurance carriers and why my price changes on homeowners forms is for a number of different reasons. The first reason has a lot to do with what form we're on. So of course, an HO3 form is more expensive than an HO1 form because it inherently offers better coverage. HOB form is usually more expensive than an HOA form because you're getting more coverage for your money, which is what we're trying to do when we're protecting our assets in insurance. Make sense? I hope so. When we're thinking about the other things that are inherently found in these forms, we have to read the endorsement list. Sometimes you don't get those with insurance agents, but that's the whole list of things that have numbers and letters and weird captions in them that really tell you what's been added, endorsed, or subtracted, excluded from your insurance policy. That's the meat. That's the meat of our insurance policy that we really want to get down to. That also fluctuates the price. Something to remember in addition to that is cope, coping skills. Keep calm and cope on. What does COPE stand for? C-O-P-E. C is for construction. What's this house made out of? If it's made out of brick, it doesn't burn as quick as if it's made out of wood. So a brick house is going to rate better than a wood house. Make sense? What does the O stand for? That's occupancy. Is it vacant or is it occupied? And if it's occupied by the homeowner or by a renter, all those things change the price. Homeowners have the cheapest price, vacant properties have the most expensive price. Why, you might ask? Because they're riskier. That's pretty easy to see. They're an attractive nuisance for people to break in and vandalize the property. That doesn't happen as much if you're in your own home. See what I'm saying? What does the P stand for? Protection. When we think about protection, we're really looking at the fire departments. Fire departments range all over the country from a rating of 1, the best, to 10, volunteer guys trying to get buckets out of a river, okay? So of course, how quickly are we going to put out that fire? In a protection class of 1, a lot quicker than in a protection class of a 10. So of course, the 1 gets a better rating than the 10 does. Then we think about exposure. When we're thinking about exposure, they're really looking at zip codes. You thought that those 5 digits at the end of your address weren't important, but that's how the insurance industry classifies all weather-related incidences, all theft and burglary incidences, all across the country. And every insurance carrier has little actuarials that sit up in windowless rooms, and they try to calculate the risk of certain zip codes versus other zip codes, and they apply pennies on the dollar to that, and that gets calculated into your risk. So we got to think about COPE. You might be asking yourself, the house I had in Indiana doesn't cost nearly as much to insure as the house that I had in another state. There's some really good reasons why, because all of these factors have changed, from how big it is, what it's made out of, where it is, and what it's exposed to. That kind of makes sense? So in homeowners policies, all these things factor into what our price is. And then we can play with that when we look at deductibles. There's lots of different deductibles no matter what state you're living in. In the great state of Texas, we typically deal with AOP, which means all other perils, or we deal with wind, hail. And down on the coast, we deal with named storm. Why? Because in Texas, everything bad that can happen happens. We got wildfires, we got hurricanes, we got tornadoes, we got hail, we got ice storms, we got earthquakes, we got it all. So they name different perils. Those are the things that cause your claim. What's going to make this place burn down, blow down, wash away? You understand? So when we think about the deductibles, higher deductible is like a seesaw, lower price. Lower deductible, higher price. They're an inverse relationship. And so it's really important to understand that you can play with your price a little bit when you play with your deductibles. Price is also called premium in case that's how your carrier is listing it. Realize that every carrier has different tastes. Some of them penalize you more for zip codes for wind hail deductible than others do. In rare instances, not only will you see a named storm deductible, but you'll also see maybe a water backup deductible, maybe a general liability deductible, maybe an equipment breakdown deductible. As long as you know what those deductibles stand for, the money that you owe out of the amount of the claim that's being paid, then you can make some really empowered decisions on what you want to spend on your insurance and how much risk you're willing to take. I hope that kind of demystifies homeowners insurance for you a little bit, and we can always talk about the particulars in further modules. I'm Kim Stallings, and it's been great to talk to you guys today. Let Heritage Risk Advisors help you. See you in the next module.